Shalom, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Eenie Frost, and we are going to be talking about marriage, a very intrinsic part of Jewish life. One of the first commandments that's given to the Jewish people says, be fruitful and multiply. And so families and traditions and mishpacha have always been a part of Jewish life, and still are today. Marriage is still a family affair. And how wonderful it is when you hear about somebody who's going to be married. Have a luncheon, get together, a hen party. And of course, you can always have it out. But how about having it at home? You know, if 2 or 3 get together and give a little luncheon at home, it's so much warmer, a little more camaraderie. And it's very simple. Each one make one dish, and it's a lovely, lovely afternoon. And the bride enjoys it, her parents. And so it would be so much fun to just have a light luncheon at home. And you know, if it comes from Enie's kitchen, I'm going to make it easy. So we're going to start out with what I call a quickie. It's a quickie from Tradition in the Kitchen, a wonderful kosher cookbook. It's called a blender borscht. And this is how we make it. First, in your blender, pour 2 cups of cold water. Then add to that a 16-ounce can of julienne beets. Take a little off that we're going to use on the topping. Then add to that, and here's a secret ingredient. You know I always have one of those. A 6-ounce can of frozen lemonade. This is going to give it a very nice feeling. And we're also going to add 1 egg. And of course, before we ever add an egg, we always check it for kashrut to be sure that there isn't any blood in it. So we will add 1 egg, put this into our blender, put it on to blend for just 1 moment. And you see how quickly it goes? There you are. Now you know you can't have anything faster than that. And how about serve it in just a lovely little dish? And look at how easy this is to serve. Just pour it right into your bowl. And perhaps we'll top it with a little bit of sour cream. You know, I have to tell you a funny story. When we were in Florida, we went to this restaurant. Oh, well, everybody's been to Rascal House. Okay. We're sitting in Rascal House, and there are 2 ladies sitting at the next booth. And they both ordered borscht. So the waitress said, what would you like on your borscht? So the one lady said, oh, sour cream, of course. And the other one said, sour cream? No way, potato. Well, they got into such an argument, you can't believe it. Well, my grandfather came from Lithuania. Oh, my grandfather came from Poland. So you see, these things are very traditional. And that's what I like about it. Make it whatever way was a part of your own family. In our family, it was sour cream. Just to make it look a little pretty on top, just keep a couple of those beets and sprinkle it on the top. And I think that this is going to be a very delicious and interesting beginning to your luncheon. And it's cold, it's easy to do, you can do it the last minute, and I think it really is an interesting and good idea. Now to go with it, we want a little appetizer. But of course, when you do an appetizer, I think we're kind of away from all of those things that have to do with a lot of bread, the kind of appetizers we used to make so much that had so much bread in them. Let's try to think of something new. Oh, this is a goodie. This is a cheese puff. And what does it have in it? A surprise. But before we put the surprise inside, here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll take 1 cup of grated cheese, and I have a cheddar that I think is really very nice. And I'm going to add to that a 1/2 cup of flour and 3 tablespoons of butter. And of course, when you put butter into the food processor, always be sure that you cut it in a couple of pieces first. And always put it in with some type of a dry ingredient. Now I've got 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add a little paprika, because I think the paprika gives it a very good flavoring. and also give it a little color. Now, we'll just turn that on for one moment, and you'll see the nice consistency. Watch it because it goes very fast. If you have your cheese already grated, and it's easy to grate it in here. So we live with our food processor. Now, what is the surprise inside? There's no bread. All we're going to do is take our cheese dough, and look at how nice it is. If it's a little wet, then just put your hands on a little flour first to flour them down a little bit. And inside of it, we're going to put an olive. And this really gives it a nice, nice flavor. Now, this recipe that I gave you will make about 18. If they're this size olives, you know, it depends on what size olives you have. But I figure this makes about 18. So you just roll them up and put them in a 350 oven for about 15 minutes. And when you have them all ready, serve them right in your plate with your borscht. And you'll see they're really very nice here. These have already been baked, and they are really delicious. You see how simple it is? Just pinch off a little bit, and it really is this cheese that works in so softly that gives it a very, very nice flavor. You take your olive, put it inside, and wrap it up. And this is a surprise, because I know all the girls will keep saying, oh, if it's too much bread, I don't want to eat it. But there isn't any bread in here, just a good flavor and a surprise of an olive. So that is our wonderful appetizer. And I think that you'll really like it because it gives a very good flavor. Now, I was thinking about a side dish that would be very nice to serve with this lovely afternoon. And we want this to be rather dainty. So we have to try to think of something that'll give a rather dainty look to it. I know we don't make the big Jell-O molds anymore. We're beyond that. But I still think sometimes a little tiny bit of Jell-O really gives it a nice flavor. And I think in this case, it really will. First, I'm going to take a bowl where I have 1 3-ounce package of lime gelatin. And add to that 1 cup. Here's 1 cup of boiling water. And add to that 3/4 of a cup of cold water. And just let that set on the side until it congeals a little bit. And while that's congealing a little, then we're going to add a surprise inside. Well, you know if it's made in Enie's kitchen, fresh is best. So that's what we're going to do. Here I have a cup of chopped apples. These happen to be Granny Smith, but you can use any kind you like. I think they're great. 1 cup of chopped celery. See, this is our vegetable and our salad, which gives the afternoon luncheon a lovely look. And here we have 1/4 of a cup of green pepper, which is going to give it a nice flavoring. Now, what are we going to pour on this to make it a little spicy? 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Would you believe that? And 1/4 of a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, which I think is a very nice side flavor, but be careful with it because you can overdo and you don't want to overdo. Here we go with a pinch of salt and pepper, and then add this right into your Jell-O. Add it right into the Jell-O, pour them into small molds, let them set overnight, and here they are on our plate already. And I think they look lovely. And they look like a lovely afternoon luncheon dish, don't they? Here we have our mold, and we're ready to put our entree on, which we will make in a moment. And I think that this is a very interesting recipe because ordinarily when they would look and see a gelatin salad, they think, oh, well, is that the same old gelatin? No, this is all fresh. Everything in here is fresh. So it just has that little tiny amount of vinegar that's giving it a little pep and a little zip and a little surprise, really, because this adds a lot to the feeling of it and adds, again, to our entree because we want to use a lovely serving. Aren't these plates interesting? This was my mother's, and I think they're really pretty. This is a lovely dish to serve it on, and try this for an afternoon luncheon. We have our borscht, the cheese, And here are our gelatin salads.
Eenie invites you to try her recipes. For a copy of today's meal, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Enie's Kitchen, care of WJUF, 1 South Franklin Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60606.
Weddings are so much fun that giving a luncheon for the bride just makes it even more exciting and makes the whole family get in the mood. And giving a party at home is even better. And I was thinking, what would be a lovely afternoon? No men allowed. As my son Ira always says, men do not eat quiche, but ladies, we love it. And the thing that I love about this quiche is the crust. This is really unusual. It's made with a cracker crust. These are soda crackers. Now, when I was in the kosher department of the supermarket yesterday, I noticed that the soda crackers are coming salted or unsalted. Of course, my preference is salted, but if you would like them the other way, fine, or if you want to mix it. I counted the crackers to make a cup and a half. This is a cup and a half, and that came to 50. So if you're using this size or otherwise, just measure them out. Now then, to 1.5 cups, we're going to add 1/2 cup of butter. Put it right in your food processor. Just pour it right in. And it'll give it a very nice flavor. And you see how quickly it goes? That's just the way you want it to be, because you don't want this to come down too much. You know, you don't have to buy your crusts all made up. Look at how simple it is to make it in here. Now take this wonderful crust and just put it into a 9-inch pie plate. Just press it in carefully. And here I have one done already because I wanted you to see how it's all set. We have a 9-inch crust, and now we're going to layer in our quiche. You know, you have to be careful when you go out to a restaurant. Always ask them what they're putting in their quiche, because very often they might use types of things that you would not want to eat. But what we're going to put in our quiche is going to be delicious, and I know you're going to like it. Just to give it a little spark on the bottom, I'm going to add about 2 cups of chopped onions, not chopped, sliced. Here they are, sliced very nicely, sauteed in a little butter. We used about 3 tablespoons of butter to saute the onions and the mushrooms in. Spread it around, and you can even slice these in the food processor. Now here I have about 1/2 pound of fresh mushrooms, and I think that gives it a very good flavor. And put this over it. Please use fresh. Always use nice fresh mushrooms, because that's what's going to give it a much better flavor. Here we go. Now let that set for a minute while you make your topping. But do this first, because once you make your topping, get your oven ready at 350 before you start to make your topping, because I want this to be all done and I want this to be ready really fast. So we're going to take 3 eggs, and I have already checked them for kashrut. I've opened them up carefully to be sure that they're all right. And I'm going to beat them just a little bit. Then I'm going to add to that 1/2 cup of scalded milk. And we'll add a teaspoon of salt and a little pepper. Please use white pepper, because we don't want those dark things to show. And here I have 1/2 pound of Swiss cheese. Put that in, blend it together a little bit, and just pour it right over the top. Now you'll see when you pour this over the top that this has to go in right away. Pour it right over the top. Have your oven ready at 350. Set this in for about 40 minutes, and when you take it out, you'll see how delicious it's going to look. Because here we have one, by the magic of television, that is all ready to go. Here we have one that's all set. And we'll put this one in to cook for 40 minutes at 350. And when you cut it, always be sure that in addition to the knife, you have a spatula. Have you ever been to anybody's house and they're cutting a cake, and after they cut one piece of it, they take their hand and help the cake come out? Please, let's not do that. And have your dishes ready. Here on our dishes, we also have a lovely little salad to go with it. It's like a gelatin salad that has fresh fruits and vegetables in it. It has apples in it and celery and peppers. And if you would like the recipe, I'll be glad to send that to you too. Now, if you're going to have this for an entree, then I think you would get about 6 out of here. Otherwise, if it's a side dish, you would get 8. And you see the sides of it? When you look at it, here you go. This is a lovely, lovely plate to serve, and a lovely afternoon luncheon dish. And I think that you will really enjoy it because the surprise is really in the cracker crust. It gives it a completely different flavoring than if you're using the regular crust that you buy or the graham cracker crusts. So this is going to give it a very nice flavor. And have your plates ready, and you'll see that it will be a very interesting and delicious dish. And I hope that you will try this cracker crust quiche.
Eenie invites you to try her recipes. For a copy of today's meal, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Eenie's Kitchen, care of WJUF, 1